Good morning. So today we are going to see about Java programming language. So the gentle introduction of Java programming language. So what is Java? Why we need to go for Java language? So first of all, before moving into Java, I would like to say the reason why we are going for Java. So what are the, generally we go for Windows 10, previously we had Windows 8, like that we had previous versions. Why we go for a new version? Because we need an upgrade to add a particular feature, we move into the next versions. Similarly here, Java has the additional added features when compared to C, C++. These two differences I am going to tell first. So initially let us see this, then we will move into Java. So what is C program? I will just parallelly differentiate between all these three. So what is the C program? C program is nothing but a procedure oriented program. Procedure oriented. It is very much oriented towards the procedure. See, I have to only give declaration phase, then only I have to go for definition phase. Like this, we have some rules here in case of C. But to avoid those things, we went here, data was separate and the function what we had was separate, loosely coupled. But here in C++, we wanted a way in which we need to overcome this separation. So we try to encapsulate data and the functions which operate on that data together as something called as object. So C is a procedure oriented programming language. C++ is a object oriented programming language. Java is also an object oriented programming language. So first we saw the difference between C and C++. So this is not object oriented. We needed something which to be moving towards the next level, that is the concept of objects. So we went into this object concept in C++. Now from C++ then why we went into Java? Both are object oriented. But why we need to go to Java? That is what we needed a language. See, this is platform dependent. Platform dependent. Platform dependent means what? So whatever OS I am running, it is dependent upon that particular OS and its features has to be basically compact towards that particular architecture or the OS what we are using. But here also the same thing. It is platform dependent. But here this is platform independent. What do you mean by platform independent? Platform in sense I am talking about the different operating systems. See, generally we have a network. I am going to give you the main difference why we moved into Java. A network has a connection of different systems which work under, we cannot expect this system may have Windows OS. This system may have, Solaris. And this system may have Linux, Ubuntu. Like this we have different OS and different systems. Now I need a language which can run in any of these systems. It has to run in any of these systems. That is, I am not bothered about who the OS is or what kind of OS it is. I just want to run my program in any system. Then only we can achieve this network concept. All these networks can be communicated equally. So that is what we needed, a global language which can communicate easily between the network even though the OSs are different. That is the main reason we searched for a language that can run in any kind of OS. So for that purpose only, we went into something called as Java. It is nothing but platform independent. So I'll just give you how it became platform independent. See, for example, C program, generally we write a C program and save it as what? A dot, for example, file name dot C. This is my C program. When I execute it, when I want to execute it, what is the compiler I'll be using? I'll be using C compiler. Right? So this becomes what? Executable file. Now again in C++, how will I write a C++ program? Whatever program you write with the object concept, you create a class and you create an object and you try to write a program. So I can call this as a.cpp. The extension of the file is going to be what? CPP. Now what we are going to use? We are going to use C++ compiler. C++ compiler. So when I use C++ compiler, the same program will become again what? Executable file. So these two are same in this case. Now let's go to Java. Any program I write in Java has to be stored as what? A.java. Right? Now I compile it. I use Java compiler and compile it. So when I compile it, what it will become? It will not become an executable file. It will become a.class file. The extension becomes what? A.class file. Now only I am going to talk about the platform independent concept. So these two I said it's platform dependent. This is going to be what? Platform independent. How the platform independency came? Because a.class file can be run into run on any machine which has browsers. We have different browsers, right? What are the browsers we know? We know like Opera, Chrome. We have many browsers. A lot of browsers we have. So any browser which is JVM enabled, all these browsers will be what enabled? JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So this a.class file, here we have two steps. Here we have only one step. So this Java compiler, so we are going to see the main features. The main two features of Java. What are the main two features of Java? The first feature is platform independence. What is the second feature of Java? Multi-threading. I am going to talk only about the main things. The other features are as same as the C++. I am not concentrating here. The main two differences: platform independence, multi-threading. So platform independence, as we saw previously, we are going to use what? JVM enabled browsers to convert our .class files into that is what the .class file, we call it as bytecode. That keyword we need to understand. Bytecode is getting converted into executable files. So the bytecode is only traveling across the different systems. Multi-threading. Multi-threading concept, here we need to find the difference between what is a thread and what is a process. What is a thread and what is a process? So what is a thread? A thread is a one which is, for example, first let me tell you what is a process. So if I have a.java file, this entire file I am going to execute. That is program in execution. Program in execution, we call it as what? Process. So this program, when it moves between memory and CPU, we call it as what? Programming execution condition. So it is executing between the memory and the CPU communication. That time it becomes what? The program becomes a process. So that is called as a process. So this process can, in terms inside that, can have independent execution units. For example, C is equal to A plus B and D is equal to E into F. These two are independent statements. Independent statements can be can run in independent machines or as considered as independent threads. But suppose if I have here C, what will happen? These two statements are dependent on each other. So I cannot convert each as each thread. So what I am going to trying to say here is independent executional units in a program. We search in a program or we try to take from a program the independent execution units. So those things we can convert or create as thread using which class? Thread class. Or I can do it with the help of runnable, implementing runnable interface. Either I can extend using thread class or I can use what? Runnable interface. So this is the basic. What is a process? I said, see, vice versa is not the true. A process can be called as a thread. When it can be called as a thread? Only when the process has no independent execution units inside and it has a single main thread or whatever we are going to use, no independent. In that case, I call the process as also a single thread. Only a single thread. But if a process has multiple threads, I cannot call a thread as a process. I cannot call a thread as a process. So this is the main difference between these two. So what I am trying to say here is, what is multi-threading? Multi-threading is trying to have different independent units of a process which can run independently. For example, you would have seen in 1, 2, 3 greetings or any greetings card, you can have the first one as a bird flying, and at the background you can hear a sound and you can see water moving separately. So these things are what? They are different threads working independently and giving us a merged concept. We try to get the output. So that is what multi-threading concept over here. Right? Now, we saw what is Java, why we go for Java, what is the basic feature which is very, very essential in Java. Now, let us go for the structure of a Java program. So, here, if it's an object-oriented program, so we have to create in Java, we have to create a class. Class, for example, class name is A. What is the class name? Public class. So we can give here it as public class. By default it takes public class name. Then we have public static void main string args. So we have public class name, then we have public static void main, then just we'll give system.out.println, system.out.println of hello. So this is a basic Java program. what we have here? We have a public class name. So my Java program name should be what? A.java. It should not be any other name. It should be only A.java file. If I keep here A1 or some other name.java, then this program will not work at all. The program only will work, it will only accept only if the class name is A and the file name is also what? A.java. So it will only work if we save it as A.java. Then we have public static void main. What do we do here? See, in C we generally give it as main. Here we are not trying to we try to create write a program which can take any input as in the form of a string. For example, if I run this program, whatever input I give, that input will be taken as what? For example, if command line arguments. So this args meaning is I try to give the data as command line arguments. So in my system, when I run using command line, that time I can give the file name, then I can give the input whatever I want, and that will be taken by default as what? String. That is the meaning why we give here as string args. Then we have system.out.println hello. So this is what we try to print. In C we try to give printf. In C++ we try to give similarly, but here system.out.println is a statement which we give for what? Printing statement. So there we can give here something called as hello. So this is a basic Java program. A simple Java program where we try to print only hello. So we also have different data types in Java. What are the different data types in Java? So we have, here also we have integer. Here also we have what? We have boolean. And cut பண்ணிடுங்க. So now we are going to see some of the concepts which Java follows. Java follows OOPS concepts, object-oriented programming concept. The first one is, we already know what is a classes and objects concept. It follows inheritance concept. It follows abstraction, data abstraction. We call it as data abstraction, data encapsulation, we have then polymorphism, I'm just giving a few of the features which Java follows. So we know what is a class and we know what is an object. An object is an instance of a class. So what is a class? For example, I have bird. Bird is a class. What is an object? In this bird there are different varieties. For example, parrot, pigeon. Then we have crow. Like this we have different birds. But why we have all these are unique? But they are categorized under the bird because it has 2 wings, it is able to fly, it has a beak. All these things are common. But each one has its own unique features also. And that's what, this I can call it as object 1. This I can call it as object 2. This object 1, object 2, object 3 can be called under one class. But each object has its own unique nature. That is what here we call here classes and objects. This is followed in Java. The next one is inheritance. What do you mean by inheritance? Inheritance in sense, see, in a company, if a person has completed a program, he has returned for 3 months, so he is going out of the company suddenly. Another person comes. The manager asks him to do the same project again. So for example, generally we make that second person to follow the first person's program. As such, he will reuse. We have something called as code reuse. We reuse the code given by the first person and then we add additional features into it. Here you can add additional features into it. But if the second person writes the code newly, it is waste of time, right? So how to bring this concept of already written code to be used again by the new programmer? So we will try to use something called as inheritance. Inheritance means I have a parent class, or I call it as base class. Base class. From this base class, I am going to inherit child class. Child class, or we call it as derived class. Derived class. So parent class has some 100 lines. The same thing base class has or parent class has. Now the child will also inherit what? The same 100 lines. Along with that 100 lines, it can add what? 10 more lines or 20 more lines according to its flavor. We can add. So this is known as what? And we use a keyword called extends. Extends is a keyword which we use to inherit the nature of base class into the subclass or derived class. Now this is known as inheritance. So code reuse is a main concept which is available in Java. Then we have something called as Java data abstraction. What do you mean by data abstraction? Abstraction in sense, abstract in sense, we give only the essential details. All the inner details will be hidden. We need not know what is inside the car, how the car is running or engine is running. We just use clutch, accelerator, and we start key and we give the key and start moving. So that is how data abstraction, we try to hide the details. Data hiding concept. So hide the details and then we try to show only the essential things. So that we call it as data abstraction. Then what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is, we know a capsule. A capsule comes in two colors. Two colors together mixed together into a single capsule. Similarly here, as I said earlier, we have data plus function. Data plus function together, we call it as what? Encapsulation. Data encapsulation. We encapsulate the data and the function which work upon the data. This we call it as what? Data encapsulation. Then we have finally something called as polymorphism. Poly means what? Many. We know the word many. Many in sense, I can take in many forms. It can take in many forms. For example, we have a function called draw. Okay? Draw is a function. I can draw a table, I can draw a circle, I can draw a rectangle, I can draw a square, anything. But the function name is what? Draw. Now I am going to give the different parameters. For example, draw A. If I give only one parameter, then I can find the, for example, area of a circle. So only one parameter is enough. So draw A comma B. So I have to give length into breadth. For example, based upon the number of parameters, I can change the one inside, what diagram I have to draw. So the number of things change as you increase the size of your diagram. So the parameters gets changed, it gets increased. But what is same here? The same thing what is here is only name of the function. Function name alone is same. All the other things are what? All the other things different is nothing but the number of parameters are different. That is taking same name but different forms. So from this I will get a circle, from this I will get a rectangle. Like this we can keep on moving into different pictures. So this is the basic concept of hooks which Java follows. So what are the things we saw today in Java? Java, why we go for Java, what is Java, what is this platform independence, then we saw what is platform independence, and then we saw what? Multi-threading concept, and we saw how the hooks concept is followed by Java. These are all different things which we have to know basically in Java. So I hope you people have understood to some extent what is Java is, and also there is something called as access specifiers in Java, packages in Java, access specifiers. So here access specifiers we generally call it as public, private, protected. So this package, why I have written these two is, these three, the difference between these three can default is also there, but we see these basically these three. These three can be easily understood only with the help of packages. The clear difference we can see. How inheriting from one package to another package. So what are the packages visible and not visible. The visibility thing comes under this topic. So our next session completely is going to be about the packages, access specifiers, public access specifier, private access specifier, and protected access specifier. So Java is like a vast ocean. We start covering a lot in Java. So I hope I have only covered the basics, the introduction part. So next videos I will try to take each topic and try to give you the inner details in depth. So hope you all have understood. Thank you once again for listening to this class. Thank you. Good morning. So packages are basically folders. So we are going to start with packages. Packages are of different types. So if I create a package, I have to just give package name P1. This is how we have to create a package. So suppose I have a file inside a package, then I have to use P1 dot. So like this we have n number of packages we can create, any number of packages. So in file 1, for example a1.java, I have a file. I have a package, and in a2.java again I can create a package newly called P2, and what I can do, I can also use the package which is in some other file also. So I can give here a keyword called import. Import what? Already we have created a package, so I can import P1. Now what happened? This second program has two packages, P1 and P2, but the first one has only one package. So this is how packages can be created, and in packages we can have some files. So I can create a class file. Inside this we can create again, in my main program of Java, we can again give here class name. As usual, whatever the program we write, we generally write like that and create the package and have a particular file inside that. So this is what is very important.